is to allow myself to screw up, allow myself to mess up. But in that process, where my end goal is, to get there is I need to be able to love myself. That's the only way I can love my situations, love my interactions. And the closer I get to that, because life is also in constant motion, it's always moving, I am going to grow more and more, is a truly expressive being. And when I can do that, I can have more of the relationships that I want. I can learn to say no with things I don't want. I can learn to say yes quicker and not have to focus on the technique of dominance, but allow myself to just be dominant by expressing myself. So it goes in a little bit of a cycle. Let's see what else we got here. All right, so one of the things is when it comes to different sorts of stuff, especially when it comes to deeper things like sexuality, violence, the deeper things that move you, shit, man, it could be diet as well. When you are actually a person that is battling something within yourself, all right? And you have those kind of like dysfunctional feelings come up, like I can't do it. I'm ashamed, I'm incapable, yada, yada, yada. We need to start moving towards what I call spiritual application now and into principles. When I talk about spirituality, I do not mean religious. I do not mean something, it can be. You can totally be involved in that sort of stuff. But how I do this is involving myself with spiritual principles. So they're different ideals, and of course they're kind of limitless here. But for me, one of the biggest things is unity. I live by socializing and by being sexual and communicating. I live also, God, dude, I probably spend more time, well, it depends. Sometimes I get lazy, but a lot of times I'll spend way more time training different martial arts stuff and going crazy with that because it's the level of communication. It allows me to get in touch with myself. It allows me to get in touch with other people. But through that, I exercise a level of unity. Through talking to people, I exercise a level of unity. That's an important focus of my life. There's different things you can do about writing on it, being, cognitive of it while you're talking to people. Honesty, things like open-mindedness, willingness, acceptance, faith, love, all that sort of stuff. It's so interesting because when we deal with our fears, when we deal with our guilt, our shame, when we deal with our doubt, those types of things, they're usually fears towards the future. And all faith is, in fact, this is so funny, is all faith is just having a little bit more of a, faith in the outcome of things. It's believing in the future. It's believing that if you're taking the right steps, it's the right process. An application of spiritual principles put into action and functionality when we are going back to those like two circles of when we get to seduction or we get to fighting and whatever your opponent is, or I guess a woman is not an opponent. But when we ever get with who we're communicating and exchanging with and we start applying these things and we put those into action, then we can find awareness in it. That being said, guys, it's just about out of time. So if anybody has any quick questions, I don't know if we have 2, 3, whatever, it's your call. Hit it up. Nothing. Speak now, forever hold your peace. This man in the black shirt.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So you talked about Krav Maga real briefly and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or JKD?
Yeah.
Is that right? Can you elaborate a little bit more on like what guys should really take an interest in when they go back home?
Well, I think, to kind of bring it back to
what should they look for in their hometown?
Yeah, what my teachers say is all martial arts are good. What I would say is the best thing it would come down to is something with sparring. So something with movement and where you're challenged by someone else. One of the great things about boxing, kickboxing, and I've done a bunch of stuff, is when you're man to man. It isn't that through that, it's actually through that you achieve unity. It isn't competition. It isn't an outlet for anger. Those things will stop and fade. Those are things that we can't hold on to. Emotionally, we can hold on to, but physically, when we're in action, we cannot hold on to them.
You mean they're fleeting, basically?
They disappear. But emotionally, we'll hold on to that shit, and it'll define our lives in these massive ways. So when somebody's sparring, it's a key thing. And it's not competition. This is so interesting because in seduction, I'm guilty of it too. I love to make it like a bragging rights thing. I did this and that. But the true element of when I'm with a woman, there's none of that in my head. When the action is happening, there's no competition. It's just expression, right? Afterwards with my friends or whatever. But the same thing with fighting. We always hear these people bragging about fighting. Yeah, because afterwards it's happening. But when it's happening, that it cannot exist. You know, the action takes away from it. So sparring is a key element to it. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the speech, Steve. It resonated with me in a way that I don't fight, and I'm not really interested in martial arts, and all the power to you for doing that. But I get my sense of, I guess, meditation when I play sport or play soccer, and I really lose myself in the game.
Right.
So is that possible?
Totally. Like, for instance, we always hear this spirituality tied with martial arts, which is there, and you can take from it. But the reason why that was there was because of the application of it, because it's an intense thing. When you're, whether it's Japanese-style martial arts, Chinese, or stuff that comes up in through Brazil or wherever, these people went through pretty crazy shit when they were actually fighting or seeing something. We see this with PTSD, we see this with guys coming from the war, and there has to be, in order to sustain that, in order to congratulate something that they're doing, they need to learn an outlet to manage that. And a lot of that comes to a form of spirituality. But let's also take into other elements of spirituality. What I mean is like something that everybody can do. I'm not trying to align to a religion. Like a principle means a religion can make it work or something else can make it work. But that principle, that feeling, or if you want to call it flow, whatever it is, but that comes from the joy of being alive. You know, I was talking outside during one of the breaks, and it was like, man, nothing in nature really worries about if it's in the right state or not. If there's trash on the ground, plants learn how to grow, or they don't, you know? And that's what life is about. We're living beings first, and then we're allowed to think. And we can make that a beautiful thing, or we can make that a screwed up thing. So martial arts aren't necessarily like so that you fight and practice violence. It's so that you get in your body and have application. However, through that action, you will learn a way that you challenge yourself, you challenge what you think. Experiencing and talking to somebody can be the same thing, or whether it's football, soccer, yada, yada, yada.
Thanks.
Yeah. I guess that's about it. We'll talk outside. All right. Thank you, guys. We got some great speeches ahead. And don't forget to live life, be awesome, be social, be sexual, all that sort of stuff.